Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, over 1,000 kidnappings were reported to police per month in the first half of the year. That's a whopping increase from the 700 cases monthly average in 2021. The numbers may be even higher, as many are afraid to report these cases. Sesi Fellow Karabo Mokgonyana believes the surge is being driven by inequality and political instability. She joins us now to discuss her proposed multi-institutional approach to tackle the scourge. Karabo, thank you so much for speaking to us here on eNCA. Let's break down your two reasons, right? Tell us first why you think inequality is, contributing to the scourge.
Thank you so much for having me, Masero. Inequality, I think, more with regards to the economic desperations that exist in this country. And I think whenever we speak about human trafficking and those that are actually involved, a lot of it has to do with the economic inequality and the economic gaps. So people then see a need to actually, participate in this industry because it has been said that the economic rewards are quite large in this industry. And it's almost like a play on economic desperation. There are people who are desperate to put food on the table. There are people who actually need to provide for their families. And this industry happens to play on this inequality that exists in this country.
Of course, a lot of people in South Africa, when they think about kidnappings, which obviously has a huge tie to, the kidnappings that happen because of sexual reasons, for instance, they tie in together, right? So when you talk about political instability, I think that's what a lot of people think of. They think that it's people who are from outside the country who are able to penetrate and go against all our laws to protect the citizens of South Africa to be able to get here and actually human traffic. Just explain to us a little more. Am I correct in that stance that that's where you're heading when you say political instability?
I think it's more around just the checks and balances in terms of, governance, our leaders, just the structures that are in place. So human trafficking is no longer just people from outside. It's also becoming very immersed in local people actually getting involved in these syndicates. I mean, a lot of it's now because a lot of the locals are being used to recruit, or to kidnap people to basically transport them, or even just be involved in illegal labor stuff that is dealt with in this country. But there's also then a bit of a change that the international community is seeing. It's no longer just commercial and labor and sex work. It's now also becoming a lot more with regards to ransoms and extortions. We're seeing that people are being kidnapped, or so that ransoms can be received from their families and loved ones. So it's also becoming a different form of trafficking that is heavily done by local people as well. So it's becoming a bigger crime than what we thought. And it's no longer just international, it's become localized. And that's where the danger is now. If it's expanding, containing it makes it very difficult.
So, Karabo, you say you have the solutions. We have a country where we all know that, politically a lot of things is because there's no political will to implement policies or to, implement clear rules and guidelines in our constitution and our legal framework. So, but you say it's more institutional. Explain that to us.
So the solution that I suggest is it's a multi-sectoral approach. I personally believe that this issue can never be resolved by just the South African police services. It has to be multiple players and different institutions coming into play to acknowledge the complexity of this issue. For example, yes, the police have a role to play. However, I would recommend then having a specialized, anti-trafficking unit that focuses on this, because it's not like the other crimes. It is complex, and it's also a cross-border crime in itself. So it then requires departments like the Department of International Relations needs to come into play, to build some of the relationships with institutions like Interpol and other countries where, South Africans are actually taken to for the purposes of rehabilitating some of those people that have been trafficked. but also we need to have a victim-centered approach. The victims play such an important role in us understanding these syndicates, in us understanding how everything is done, because they've been at the heart of these syndicates. They kind of have seen it, not in the most pleasant way, but it's also a way of assisting them in terms of being able to, to help with their emotional and mental rehabilitation. It's not by force, but obviously the support aspect. But as well, the community is so essential, because a lot of these are happening at community level. So we need community advertised around, how to deal with it when it happens, how to actually just spot things like, okay, here it's not safe. How then do communities come into play where they are even able to acknowledge those locals who are involved in enabling these syndicates? So those sort of things are so important. Public awareness campaigns that are done by government to just help us acknowledge and actually see sort of things. But also learning institutions at community level, whether it is churches, whether it is school, recreational centers, need to also play a part in ensuring that this specific issue actually prevented. Because I think the minute we just rely on the South African police services, the danger in not necessarily understanding the complexities really is a multi-sector issue. And all these different players and stakeholders and institutions have to be willing to come forward to say, we want to play our part, and this is what our part entails.
Yeah, definitely, because my question has always been, how do you expect the government to deal with the societal issue? So I definitely agree with you on those pointers. And maybe we're a country that needs to reflect, because sometimes civil society, which is expected to assist government, there looks to be some loggerheads in between these two relationships, and therefore one then blocks the other from being able to assist it. Thank you very much for speaking to us. That was lawyer and development practitioner at Sesi Fellowship, Karabo Mokgonyana.